Okay, so I wanted to give you something else that you could go to right now, and something that helped me understand things a lot better. So I was raised a Christian, and there was so much about it that just didn't make sense to me, and I would always look at what we were taught and just look at what Jesus would say, and Jesus always preached love and tolerance. Those were like the two main things that he preached. And I didn't see that in the church. I didn't see that in the people. And, so as a result, over time, I just became more and more disconnected and more and more jaded. It didn't make sense. If we're supposed to be followers of Christ and no one is following him that I could see, it's like, sure, we love each other, sure, we're kind to each other, sure, we tolerate each other to a certain extent, but Jesus taught that we love everybody, that we tolerate everybody. And I didn't see that. I saw the opposite of that. I saw hate and I saw intolerance, and it just didn't sit well with me, and I was constantly kind of questioning it from the time I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I mean, I remember being that young, asking my dad and saying, but it doesn't seem like we do that. Like, how does that make sense? And there was other things that didn't make sense. A lot of the stories in it. So I kind of just abandoned it and just said, well, this is all whatever. It's all bullshit, and this is all a lie and stupid and blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. It's kind of, that saying, because there is like a lot of good in those teachings. If you just look at what Jesus taught, it was love, it was tolerance, and it was helping other people, it was turning the other cheek, being kind. And why did all these other things kind of complicate it? Because that's not what, it didn't seem like that's what Jesus taught. So over time, I started questioning it all, and for a while I just kind of abandoned it and said, no, it's all wrong. Not because of the message, and not because of what it actually said, or what Jesus actually taught, or what it said in certain parts of the Bible, but because of the people that were teaching, who I viewed as hypocrites, and who I think are hypocrites, and liars, and cheaters, and all that kind of stuff. So, but why am I giving up something that is potentially good and valuable because the people that have hijacked it aren't good? You can't let them have that. So over time, I kind of started to look at it, more and more, and research, and I discovered the Council of Nicaea and how the Bible actually came to be, and I started to kind of understand that, all right, like this isn't the way I was taught. What actually happened and how it was made, and everything I was taught it wasn't right. And the reason the Bible is the way it is because men decided they wanted it that way, not God. And I know people say, well, it was the hand of God that did that. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. But they could believe that, and that's fine. But one of the things that never made sense was the story of Adam and Eve to me. And eventually I came across the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is the Dead Sea Scroll that I recommend that you read, especially if you're struggling with suicide, is the book of Adam and Eve. And there's two books, I think, book 1 and book 2. The first book. And when I first read it, really just kind of by accident, I guess, just because I was interested in these Dead Sea Scrolls, and I was like, why weren't these in the Bible, and why were these other books in the Bible, I was kind of in shock because it was so. It I don't want to say it made so much sense, but it kind of made like a lot of sense, and I kind of was like upset a little bit because I was like, why would they have kept this out? This is so real. This is so similar to what I'm going through. You know, basically this ancient text writing about the struggles of Adam and Eve after they were thrown out of the garden. And whatever, if you want to believe all that, whatever, that's fine. Or if you don't want to believe it. And but the story in and of itself made a lot more sense that yes, they would struggle with this stuff. And after reading it, it gave me a completely different perspective, kind of historically speaking, on things, and religiously and spiritually and all that kind of stuff. Is that, you know, if that these people thousands of years ago, when they hid these, you know, these texts, you know, what they wrote about, you know, the first man and woman, I guess, dealing with were struggles, the same struggles that you're dealing with and that I dealt with, which is, this sucks. This is really hard. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to live. And that's something that happened repeatedly throughout this book of Adam and Eve, is they killed themselves over and over and over again. Which to me was just shocking that that this wasn't a part of the Bible, because to me this is such a helpful thing for people to realize that people have always struggled with this, and even, you know, these ancient religious texts suggest that people have struggled with it, the first people. And it also kind of gave me a different perspective on, like, okay, you know, maybe there is a God, maybe there isn't. But the message is that committing suicide may not be a way out of it. Like, you may just have to do it again. Go through it all again. And, you know, that's essentially what, you know, God was telling Adam and Eve in this book, is, you're not getting out of this. You're going to have to deal with it. So, you know, he'd raise him from the dead, and they'd have to go through it again, and then they would... But they dealt with just, like, the simplest things that, like, we deal with. The dark. What the fuck is this? Like, I can't see anything. Or, I don't know, like the cold. Just, like, simple things that, you know, we kind of struggle with and deal with. And it just made me feel like thousands of years ago people wrote about this same thing that I'm dealing with now, which is the struggle of life, and why how hard it is, and it is hard for some of us. It's not, I guess, you know, but maybe for most of us it's not, but obviously for us it is. So I highly encourage you to look that up. The Dead Sea Scrolls, Book of Adam and Eve, first book, and especially if you were raised as a Christian and are no longer, this isn't going to make you a Christian again. Like, I'm not a Christian, but I do believe that there's a lot of good messages in the Bible and in these Dead Sea Scrolls, and I do believe that Jesus existed. And I do believe he was here and he did these things, and he was here to set an example of love and tolerance and how to be. He didn't want us to worship him, I don't think. But I think there are these spiritual and religious figures that have been here on this planet, you know, whether it be Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus, or you know, maybe even somebody like Gandhi or whatever, that were here to show us a better way of being, and not to have us worship them. I don't think that they wanted that, but to be an example for, you know, how to live. But those books, the Dead Sea Scrolls, they're very interesting, especially, like I said, if you're from a Christian background. But the Book of Adam and Eve, maybe it won't have the same effect on you as it did on me, but it made me feel like people have always struggled with this, and yeah, maybe, you know, maybe if I had committed suicide, then I would just have to do it all over again, and that might suck even worse. So check them out. It's not a modern read, you know. It's like it was written a long time ago, so you know, you may struggle with it if you're expecting some sort of modern, you know, type of reading experience. But struggle through it. I think it'll be worth it. All right.